Hey guys, welcome back from Mount Mapleview Farm. Today's mission is we're going to be installing a rough country 50-inch light bar on my stepson's 2007 F-250 Powerstroke. It's the 50-inch chrome cool white 26,000 lumens. So the way it's broken down, it's got the light bar with the pigtail, a separate wiring harness that's going to come off that it appears they've got everything pre-wired, relays, fuses, and then that even pigtails off into a switch. Not super thrilled with the way the switch looks, but we'll see how that all pans out. And then there was a separate set of brackets that looks like somehow they get pop riveted into the door jamb area somewhere, so that's going to be a little interesting too. But we're going to start laying all the pieces out about where they got to go, getting kind of an idea how it all lays out, and then we'll jump in and start doing whatever drilling we got to do and connections we got to make. So get it laid out and we'll be back in a second. All right, so the way it looks for the main harness that's underneath the hood, the way the relays and the fuses and everything are set up and the length of cable, we're going to set it up on the passenger side. It makes more sense as far as the routing. So we're going to self-tap the relays into the side here. We got a little tail that comes off here. We'll just be able to zip tie it onto this for a little stability. We got our positive and our negative. This will come around. We can zip tie to the top of the harness here. We're going to tuck in behind the plastic sheathing that they've got. Try to get everything shielded out of the way. Probably have a couple zip ties holding it behind there. And then we got to snake through where we've got our coolant overflow tank. I'm hoping there's enough room that we can get through to that side, because that's where we've got the connector that's going to tie into the actual light bar itself, as well as the tail that's going to end up running down back into the cab for our switch. So that's going to be our next process. I'm going to try to get a self-tapper, get the relay secured so it's going to give us a stable base to work off of, get a couple zip ties going, and we'll start working our way across the engine bay. Zip tie this guy. There. So we secured the relay to the side of the truck. We got one zip tie holding the small lead that's going to give us our positive and negative. We've got two smaller zip ties tying into the main harness. We'd pop these three clips. Now we're going to try to route the main piece of this wiring harness back behind here. Again, like I said, probably going to have a couple more zip ties that hold it together. We'll pop the clips back in. But before I do any of that, I'm going to try to snake the far end of that lead through, like I said, where the overflow is for the coolant, because I feel like that may give me a bit of a hard time. So we're going to jump kind of to that side of the truck now and try to snake that through over there. Alright guys, so we finished running the harness back behind. Like I said, we pulled it up, tied it into this factory plastic harness holder to keep it up off the turbo. Obviously we're going to come back and snip all these ends. Ran it underneath our coolant tank, more successful than I thought. We're about to drop this lead through the firewall, which is going to go to our switch, and figure out our switch location. And then we've got our lead that's going to plug into our light bar once we've got that attached to the truck itself. So far so good. Go ahead. And that's it. All right, we pulled the wire through for the switch, just enough room for where we wanted it, so that worked out. We're going to come back and show you the final installation of that. Next up is installing the actual brackets that are going to hold the light bar. They're calling for pulling all the weather stripping back, 22 1/4 from the base up to the top of the bracket. We've got to mark the holes, and they get pop riveted in. So that's where we're at right now. We're going to take a measurement, mark it out, and then try to find the correct drill bits and the pop rivet gun. Okie dokie. All right, with a little bit of fanfare there, the pop rivets are in on this side. We're going to put the weather strip back, repeat on the other side, and then get the light bar going. Okay, welcome back to Bikini Bottom, 2 hours later. We messed around with a couple different setups. The first bolt that we had showed you in the original setup was too long and would not tighten and lock down against the light bar, so it was too loose. We went to the Allen bolts that they had because they were shorter. They were too short. I was only catching like 2 threads. It was not going to stay. Not the most attractive, but what we ended up doing to solve the problem for the immediate time anyway is we took a nut, just put the nut to the outside of the bolt to create a little bit of space so that the bolt didn't bottom out inside the light bar. That gave us everything we needed to snug it up nice and tight. So from there, we're coming down. We're going to run our wire down, following the rain channel, or I mean the weather stripping, as per the instructions. We went able to snake it through the fender well back into the engine bay. So coming back down, I'm going to try to get the weather stripping back in, make sure that we can tuck as much wire in as we can. I'm probably going to end up trimming a little bit up here to get everything tucked in nice. We'll plug in, we'll hook up our battery, and then we just got to route out for where that switch is going to go. And we should be there. So hopefully another 10 minutes or so, and we should be ready to test it out. All right, so there was a factory knockout for an accessory that must not have come on this vehicle, being that the switch that they gave us is so small, which is what I was saying before I wasn't super thrilled about. We routed out the knockout, which took a little time to try to get right, and inserted our switch into their knockout, and now we're just popping it back into the panel. So now he's got his up, his off, and his duals. So we're just about done. We made the connection back to the main loom. We're going to hook up the battery, and hopefully this works after all this. Well, everything is hooked up, wired to the battery. Everything is run. We're about to give it its first test run. It's starting to rain, so hopefully it does work. Otherwise, we're going to be working in the rain at this point. So thumbs up. Let's see what happens. Does that do anything, the bottom one? So that's like your running light?
Yeah.
So that's going to be a wrap for the Rough Country 50-inch light bar. Like I said, I'll be honest, it looks better than I thought it was going to look. We'll see how it ends up panning out over time, bouncing around on the dirt roads and stuff. So far, the negatives are obviously the lack of directions. They really give you no guidance on the mounting part of it, how they want you to route the wiring. And the other thing is, yes, they make it simple in terms of they give you a nice wiring harness, but it's not a key-on thing. It's constant power the way they've got it set up. So if you happen to accidentally bump into it and it's like a really sunny, bright day out, you may not realize that you left your light bar on because it will run without the key on. That's the negative. The positive does seem to be even in the daylight, it is super duper bright. So tonight we're going to come back out, turn it on, and see how nice of an area it pans out and lights up for us. Up and coming on this truck, we've got a full exhaust system on the way, an air intake on the way, And you may have seen that he also purchased a tuner that we're going to be installing in it as well. So a couple other projects that are going to get done on this truck. Maybe not in the next video, but somewhere in the next 1 or 2 videos, you should see 1 or 2 of those things. So a success, looks great, and we'll catch you on the next video. Vermont Maple View Farm out.